You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome to the Cards to the Moon podcast. This is episode 247, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram. Co-hosting with me is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John, who is Trade You at Recess, and they're both on IG as well. All right, let's just get right into it. Off the top, you already probably heard, but Ohtani broke another record. This time, it's his 50th home run ball. In the season, he hit 50-plus homers and stole 50-plus bases, and that ball sold for $4.392 million on Goldin auctions. It's insane. I know this is a card show, but I wonder if there are any takeaways here with this sale that also speaks to Ohtani's card market right now. Okay, so we'll discuss that. But first, initial thoughts on the Ohtani historic baseball sale.
I think anything right now, Ohtani is just such a hot commodity. So I'm surprised that it went that high, but I'm not surprised at the same time because we've been saying this for, I guess, the last 3 years or 2-3 years where Ohtani was the injury prone guy and we were off of him and we had so many opportunities to buy cheap to seeing where it is today. It's just, I think we've learned to not be surprised, I'd say, of another Ohtani record. But it shows a lot. It shows a lot that memorabilia is very strong. It has a place in the space. It's an asset class, like we said. It's something that I think other people look to park their money because they enjoy the entertainment side, they enjoy the bit of gambling side, but they also believe in the future potential of, I guess, part of history, right? Yeah. So I think as long as entertainment and marketing exists, stuff like this will always be on an upward trend. And we've been saying it, we're in the beginning of, I would say, this whole market and the sports card market in general. It's been around for, at the end of the day, 50, 60, 70 years plus. So it's still on an upward trend. So I see the correlation right now and what Fanatics is doing to milk every single penny out of it while they're growing it. So, and I know these prices aren't sustainable. Don't get me wrong. We've witnessed a lot of these hyped models where it explodes. Even card releases, the Wemby, we talked about Topps Mercury, everything has its burst and then the recorrection.
Comes back down.
Exactly.
Yes.
So where you play in the game is what we're all trying to do, I guess, on a daily basis now. And I guess what we're trying to preach on the overall perspective is, collect what you love and see it in the bird's eye view of long term, what holds value and what is collectible in the long run, right? So
sure. Yeah. John, what do you think?
Well, my first thoughts are rich people have way too much money.
They'll always be true.
It is true.
Yeah.
Hyung kind of touched on it, 4.3 million. I get it. It's a very special ball and it's Ohtani. The hype is crazy right now. So we expected it to sell for a lot, but my goodness, $4.3 million. I mean, I don't know. I have to think that this just went to a super rich, super fan. Because if this was an investment, I just don't see the upside in spending that much money on that ball. It's a special ball, but is it, I don't know, is it that crazy special? I don't know. Ohtani's going to be crazy. He might do something even better next year, the year after, or whatever. He might have a Cy Young MVP season in one season, and then that ball will be worth, I don't know, is that $8 million? It's crazy.
60-60 next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's crazy because just to put it into context, It surpassed Mark McGwire's 70th home run ball, which sold for just over $3 million. And then more recently, Judge's 2022 62nd home run ball, right? When he broke the Yankee record, and that sold for $1.5 million. Okay, so if you had millions, just say you're one of those super rich people, what is the best value? Which ball has the best value, do you think?
I would say Judge's. I think
1.5?
Yeah, because it's a New York. I mean, all three pieces, I think, they're museum pieces. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. These are pieces that belong in potentially like Cooperstown.
Sure.
Right? So, yeah, it should be in the millions, but I think looking back, I think Judge is the bargain right now because, I mean, who knows? That record could be broken again, but in a New York Yankees uniform, I think that's where it becomes very, very special, right? He broke, something that's, 60 plus years. And I think that's iconic when you look at it the long term, right? And same with Ohtani, but as of right now, I think the significance of New York Yankees is, I would say, the largest market cap team in MLB, and it has been. And it's won enormous amounts of world championships in the past, I'd say 30, 40 years, right? So I would say that Judge ball is the value right now. Nobody really, I think, everybody forgets about McGwire, right? Like, right. And they would say, oh, it was the steroid era, blah, 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 right? And then the Ohtani, you could argue that it was overpaid. So that's my take, Judge.
Interesting, because when you say he broke the record, I mean, that's a knock on the Judge ball too, right? It's just a Yankees record. It's not like MLB
it is, but
record.
His history repeats itself. It's like, why is Mantle, Maris, why are all these Yankees known, and why are the Yankees at the end of the day, right? It's been right. the team of Major League Baseball the last 100 years at the end of the day.
Yeah, good point. Which one are you taking, John?
Oh, this is tough because it's like the two outside of, unless you're from LA or New York, like I don't think anybody is really rooting for any of them, but
yeah,
I think selfishly, because I have some vested interest in Juan Soto, and I like Juan Soto. I'm gonna cheer. I guess I'll cheer on the Yankees. I don't know. That sounds kind of blasphemous as a Jays fan.
That's borderline blasphemous, but yeah. I was asking more about which ball would you take, but we'll answer that question too. Which team?
Oh, sorry. Edit that out.
No. We're keeping it all in.
I was moving my chair. I wasn't really paying attention too much, admittedly.
So which ball are you taking? The McGwire, Judge, or the Ohtani at their values?
The McGwire was $3 million?
Yes.
Oh man, that's a lot. I don't think I understand the ball market. That seems insanely high for all three, but I just think because it's so high, I'm going to side with Hyung and say the Judge ball might have the most potential in terms of investment upside, just because it's valued so much lower than the other two.
Yeah, that's true. I could side with that as well, but I think this might sound crazy. I might just go for the Ohtani ball.
I would like the Ohtani ball, yes.
I'm like, this is even more historic than the Judge ball, and I know the whole Yankee factor, but I think I'd go for the Ohtani. John skipped ahead, but who are you picking for the World Series, Hyung?
Man, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna lie. I do want LA to win. I just want to see the Cinderella story end with Ohtani. It's like we've gone this far with Ohtani. Might as well, go all out. And what else are you gonna do? 50-50 with a World Series championship ring would be the icing on the cake. So I'm gonna go with LA. I want to see it happen. I think Major League Baseball wants to see it happen. I think everybody kind of wants to see it happen. So you know what? Life is interesting in this world today. So let's just, I would love to see Ohtani win it.
Yeah, this is so difficult because, can I forgive Ohtani for just shunning the Jays. Like, am I over that? I'm not sure I'm over that. Will our friend Will and I have this side conversation saying how much we hate Ohtani because of that?
I don't think you can hate Ohtani.
You got to be over it because that was all fake news. We all found out.
Okay.
We never had a chance to begin with, so you can't put that on Ohtani.
And the Yankees are the Yankees. We're in the AL East. There's a long history if you're a Jays fan. So you know what? I guess I'm gonna go for the Dodgers too, but begrudgingly. I think if you're not in LA or in New York, a lot of people are begrudgingly just choosing one of those two teams to go all the way. But this is the MLB's dream, right? For these two teams
Absolutely.
to make it to the finals, to the championship. So it should be great. Now, last question before we go on. With the Ohtani market being so hot and, anything he touches is gold, is it a good time to buy, even now? Because, it just seems like if you even look at the card ladder index for Ohtani, it's just going up and to the right, in terms of the chart. Or do you just got to wait? Because this is, I don't know how much more sustainable it could be. We've been saying this for a couple years now, actually. So your thoughts?
I personally don't think it's sustainable at these prices, but we don't know where the top is.
Right.
So that's the battle, I think, because Ohtani keeps on doing these things. And what I will say is this. I think from a monthly perspective, it's not the right time to buy. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at it from an annual perspective, it might be the right time to buy the right cards. So there are cards that I think are undervalued. There are cards that I think are overvalued. So in my opinion, I think there's a buying opportunity if you look at it in the annual lens, where you're looking at long-term hold. I'm going with numbered rarity, potentially a non-auto, because I think autos in general are super, super expensive, rightfully so. There's going to be always a demand for the auto, but I think there's really good buying opportunities on lower numbered cards compared to other comparables. And if you look at it in an annual perspective, I think if you look at it in a monthly perspective, there might be better buying opportunities where you can get it cheaper, but you're risking, hey, if Ohtani does win a World Series, right? What are prices going to look like? Do they fall down? And I think they will eventually, but like I said, it goes back to we don't know where the top is. That's the problem. We could be in the middle still. So it might be a good move. It might be a terrible move, because if it does crash, we've seen it with Luka's, people who are, holding the Luka bags. But at the end of the day, it's the really rare Lukas, I think, still sustain themselves. Because if you believe in kind of the player's ability, everything else from a supply demand will crash if it doesn't have that fundamental. But if you're holding something that's super rare and Luka becomes Luka, or Ohtani continues to do Ohtani things, then yeah, you're gonna enjoy that card, and it would be a great buy in the long run.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think conventional wisdom will tell you don't touch anything with a 10-foot pole. I mean, it's pretty clear any player involved in the World Series right now, pricing is going to be pretty crazy. But I think, like Hyung said, and this doesn't really apply to us or majority of our listeners, but if you're in the top 0.1% of rich collectors, there is an argument that right now might be the time, because some crazy, if you're holding on to a crazy Ohtani card, like a Bowman red auto or like a superfractor, there's an argument to list it now and take advantage of the crazy hype. So for a crazy collector with a ton of money, this is also the opportunity to get a card like that, because it finally shows up on the market, right? So to the tiny percentage of super collectors, I think you can make an argument this is the time to get it, because these crazy cards come out of the woodworks out of nowhere, right? But for the rest of us collecting, $100 Ohtanis or $1,000 Ohtanis or whatever, yeah, this is a, as much as you want to and you feel like you're about to miss out. I don't know. I would do your best to kind of refrain from spending money right now, because I'm sure at some point the pricing will cool off.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. What I didn't mention right away was when you look at the card ladder index, there's been 2 dips in the last 2 years, right? And those dips both came on the same month. It came in November. Okay, so there was one in November 2023 and another dip in November 2022. But the peaks have been higher afterwards both times. So the base is a lot higher. So this next dip will be like close to the 2023 peak. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So that seems to be this kind of oscillating pattern, but every time the base is a bit higher. So I think that's what you can probably expect from Ohtani cards, especially this historic year that he had. So if the pattern or if the trend continues, wait till November to pick up your cards, and then that might be just a good general rule for Ohtani cards. So just quickly, if you look at the Soto chart and the Judge chart, Soto, because during the pandemic, it just skyrocketed exponentially. It's come down a lot since those 2 years, 2021, 22, but it has been seeing a more gradual increase in the last couple of years. So it's not spiking like Ohtani. But the thing is, with Judge, it's come down since the historic 2022 campaign, but that's been on a sharp upward trend in the last 6 months. So Judge cards are really high again. So you might want to wait for the small dip in the offseason as well. There you go. All right. We'll see. We'll see how these cards do. I'm kind of following what you guys said. They're on my watch list, but I'm waiting. I'm just waiting. Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to hobby headlines. So GemRate, they updated their top 50 most graded athletes list. And I thought we could use this segment to go over some of the key findings and discuss any potential implications from it. All right. Now, the data that's getting the most attention is the skyrocketing number of cards graded for Victor Wembanyama, right? For context, from this past summer, about 3 months ago, Wemby was 24th on the list of the top 50 with 280,000 cards graded, across the 4 major graders, right? So that's PSA, BGS, SGC, and CGC. Fast forward to now, he sits 15th on the list, passing Shaquille O'Neal with 430,000 cards graded. So the question is, with such a high pop count and a fast growing one, is it worth investing in Wemby cards now?
I think it goes back to we kind of have the same blueprint as Ohtani, right? Because and that's the thing. Wemby is very interesting because I don't know the numbers, but I assume at least half of them have to be unlicensed at this point. And that's where you have a lot of disagreements, I guess, on Wemby's cards. Some say unlicensed is worthless. Some say it will hold its value. I'm on the believer that it's going to hold its value in terms of the rare, super rare autos at the end of the day. The numbered autos and the ones that people think is a bargain in the annual lens, right? In the yearly lens. So I think maybe 80% of Wemby's cards will be probably, I would say, not worthless, because if Wemby does things that Wemby is capable of doing, and he has a very promising career and the ability to take San Antonio, I think this is his perfect test. Kind of like Bobby Witt Jr. KC Royals was kind of like, what type of team are they? They're going to build around Bobby Witt Jr. And then Bobby Witt Jr. has an MVP-like season and takes the Royals into the playoffs. Like, that's the type of expectation Wemby has, and I think he can be that guy. So I think there will always be some sort of value as long as Wemby does perform, but I think a lot of the prices aren't realistic. Having 430,000 cards out there, you got to remember it's a supply demand game. What's the priorities in cards? One, right? What do people value? How much supply is out there, right? And then for the base cards, I think of it as this. If I'm a kid and I run into a Wemby base card that ends up becoming $80, a PSA 10 base that tanks, I'd still be happy, to be honest. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think there's a card for everyone, which I do like, because I think that's the best marriage for any sports fan out there. You need the Wembys to be Wembys. You need the Ohtanis to be the Ohtanis, because that's what keeps the excitement of the sport and also the health of these prices. And like I said, a lot of these cards are gonna be very high right now because it's at its peak, and we've seen many cases where it's the same story over and over and over and over again. But like I said, that's part of the hobby, is recognizing these patterns and understanding other people want to buy right now, which is fine, right? When is your time, and are you monitoring these prices? Now is a good buy, or whenever that seems to be. So I think in general, that's a lot of cards to be graded. We're going to see obviously a correction, but I think in the long run, people are going to be like, remember that time we thought Wemby's cards were high? That was a bargain. It was the same thing like Ohtani. We said the same thing like Ohtani. It's like, right. Oh, these Ohtani autos are so expensive. Man, I'm telling you, if you dropped $5,000 on the Ohtani auto a couple years ago, you'd have done really, really, really well right now. So it's the same situation as Wemby. I think if you believe in his talent, then I think with a rare card, I think it will hold its value. And I'll make my last point. I think in the long run, the license stuff, so the Panini stuff that are non-autos, I think will have great value. I think there will be always the demand for that product. And then for the unlicensed, it's only the autos that I think would carry that value. So you have the best of both worlds. Whether you're unlicensed or licensed, that actually matters. Then there's something for you at the end of the day if you believe in Wemby.
Nice. I like that Wemby Ohtani comp. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. We've preached so many times that I personally wouldn't touch any rookie that's from years 1, 2, and 3, just because the hype is just so incredible. Wemby is. But I do understand, because Wemby is a little different. We're not talking LaMelo. I'm not going to diss Anthony Edwards, but I guess maybe I am. I don't think we're even talking Anthony Edwards, right? Like this is we could be looking at a quasi generational. I don't know if I quite put him there, but I think a lot of people might, and I think there's good reason to. And for somebody like Wemby, where the hype is so strong, and normally I would be like, you know what? Don't touch these guys in their first couple of years because the hype is too crazy. But if you're buying a Wemby card now, I don't think it's a horrible thing, but you have to be ready to be liquid. Like if you're going to buy, if you think, I think Wemby's going to be generational, I'm going to buy a nice Wemby card and hold it for the next 20 years. I don't think now's the time, because I think 4 or 5 years from now, that card you're looking at, and then you already wanted to invest in it for 20 years, is going to come down greatly. But if you're in this for the short run, is Wemby, I think most people think Wemby's going to have a crazier year this year than last year. And I think that's pretty accurate. I think he will. So is there opportunities to kind of take advantage of the volatility in a player like Wemby in the next couple of years? There is. So if you're in the game to play right now, spend $1,000, hopefully cash out at 1,500 and keep playing that game right now for Wemby, I think there is some opportunity for that for sure. But if you think Wemby's long-term hold, now is not the time to buy a player like Wemby. Wait till the 4th year, wait till the 5th year, wait till the 6th year. Maybe he doesn't have any rings by then, and people are going to be like, oh, he's amazing, but he got no rings, right? Like that's what happened to Luka. Luka is, I think he's as close to generational as you can get, and he's got no rings, so his price is just, he made it to the finals last year, and it didn't do too much for his pricing, right? So I think you can see that for Wemby, unless he really starts to do some special things. So I would, that's kind of the approach I would take.
I feel like John has a really, really high bar to be considered a generational player. It's like Wemby's pretty close to me, even in year 2. I don't know. And Luka's there already for me. So
Yeah.
But no, I get your point. I definitely get it, because one of the things I was going to ask is that you kind of alluded to it, but John coined this term, the lull period. Might be the time to pick up cards like these, potentially generational players, right? And it's also because, in their 3rd, 4th, 5th seasons, I wonder if Topps will slow down in printing their cards. You know what I mean? Like in their rookie seasons, you get it. They want to pump it out because that's where the hype is. But, like if you look at number 12 and number 13 on that top 50 gem rate list, number 12 is Luka. Number 13 is Ja Morant. And they're at 472,000 cards graded and 475,000 cards graded for Ja, respectively. And I bet you 90% of that was during the first 2 seasons.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And now they're in year 3, year 4. That print production has decreased a lot. So I wonder if you wait around then for Wemby, that the prices will start to stabilize a bit. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because you got your rookie cards. And the one thing about Wemby is, because of the whole licensed and unlicensed period, we're in this transition phase. That's an added wrinkle or an added factor you have to consider. Because honestly, I still don't know which one's going to do better. The unlicensed, autograph cards, or the licensed non-autos, during his rookie year.
Mm.
Right? And when Hyung was talking about that, if you want to play it safe, get one of each.
Yeah.
Get an unlicensed auto and a licensed, non-auto rookie card. And then that'll be a good hold, right? I was going to say one more take, but Hyung kind of stole it from me already. It was that the high pop count, I think, can be a good thing, because for the reason of a lot of these cards are actually, I believe, like the pictures I've seen on Twitter or on X, a lot of those cards are base cards graded out of the 400,000 plus. Mm-hmm. And I think those cards are just going to plummet in value over the years. But to your point, Hyung, if they're $20-$30 in 2-3 years, I think there'll still be a market, because Wemby's going to have that many fans.
Yeah. And
especially young fans that can afford these base PSA 10 cards. That will be just great for their PC. So I think overall, generally we think high pop counts are bad, but I think it could be good for collectors mainly in the mid to long term. So that's
as long as they perform.
As long as they perform. That's an important asterisk. And yes, so I guess that's one factor with 1B2, right? That he stays healthy. And that's, of course, never guaranteed. All right. I want to kind of point out other key findings before we go on to the next segment. I don't know when GemRate's going to update this top 50 list, maybe 3-4 months from now, but definitely going to pass Luka, definitely going to pass Ja Morant, like I mentioned. I think one place above him is Barry Bonds, 438,000. And then Mike Trout is 479,000. And Barry Bonds, Mike Trout makes sense. They've been around for a long time, but their cards are, in terms of the number of cards graded, are slowing down, obviously. So yeah, Wemby's going to surpass those guys and probably make the top 10 by the end of the year. I don't think that's out of the question. Thoughts on these 3 new players in the top 50, though? Okay, 3 new players made it to the top 50. First, CJ Stroud. Then there's Kevin Durant. And then there's Jalen Hurts. What do you guys think of those 3 new players?
Who's sending in Kevin Durant? That's an interesting.
Whoa, is that a slight on KD?
No. It's just you usually see it with more modern stuff, right? Like you don't see
right.
Older cards kind of pop unless because the pop counts were totally different in terms of production in Durant's era, right? So that's a good question, because that's what stuck out to me too. Unless it's the Topps Now Olympic cards. Right. Maybe that's bumping it up a little bit. I would think that would have to do with it. Something that was more modern and more relevant in today's time that allowed people to kind of send it into grading. So I wouldn't think they're rookie cards, because the print run would have probably been like way lower at that time, right? So, but yeah, that's interesting. CJ Stroud and Jalen Hurts, they don't necessarily surprise me because everybody's looking for the next Mahomes and Brady. So it's like, who is it going to be? Let's, if you believe in any of those talents, you're like, okay, I'll roll the dice. I'll send these in for grading in case they do pop, right? So I don't think it's a bad play or it doesn't not make sense. If that.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, CJ
Anything
Stroud makes
surprising?
sense because of the hype. Jalen Hurts, I'm a little surprised. I figured he'd already be on the list, but for him to be going on it now, it's kind of like he's a little bit old news. And then KD, I bet you even the fact that the guy changes teams every year and has a brand new fan base every year probably has some sort of factor to it as well.
That's a good point. And KD's, I feel like he's been, he's always in and out of the news cycle, right? Something he says, something he does, right? And then he's tail end of his career.
Yeah.
I think maybe some people are looking to anticipate him retiring.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Hall of Famer for sure, so that might be a factor. With Jalen Hurts though, I feel like it's funny when you say old news. Like he was in the Super Bowl, 2023? So it wasn't that long ago, right? but I wonder if Jalen Hurts is that type of player now that he has good regular season stats. He's on a good Eagles team again this year, Super Bowl contenders, right? Like, is he the type of player you think that the value of his cards will only increase at this point if he wins a Super Bowl, if he goes all the way?
I think he can be because, like I said, in this sport, you got to win. You got to win. And that's everybody chases Brady. And that's the difference maker. It's like Mahomes, at the end of the day, always shows up and wins. So it's like that quarterback, can you be consistent enough to win? And I think 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts had like a 14-1 record. That was, it was crazy where, the Eagles, were a totally different team, right? So I think he has that potential because he's still young. He's 25, 26 years old, and he has the experience. So I think a lot of people are looking at that framework and saying, okay, this guy has the potential to be the next Mahomes, or I will bet on this guy over like whoever it is, like a Joe Burrow or, Justin Herbert or, Josh Allen, right? So
Yeah. 100%. He's that's pretty much what it is. Like I think players that are getting into outside of the hype early years and they're kind of getting into the years 4, 5, 6, 7, especially in sports where championships is kind of the barometer of your legacy. Like 100% at this point, he's in that Lucas stage where you got to show out now. Like you got to have rings for me to invest long-term money into you, not just hype anymore.
For sure. I agree. I forgot one more thing I want to mention before we close out this segment. Something that's not on the top 50 list, but related to what we're talking about is another stat I saw recently on social media, and that's the Panini Downtown Donruss football cards. And I know you've seen there was news of the guaranteed oversized downtown cards in those Donruss football boxes you can get at Costco. I think it's only in the States because I didn't see that in Costco Canada. But what I wanted your thoughts on was the pop count for these regular Donruss downtown football cards, right? It went from 381 cards graded by PSA for the 2018 downtown cards all the way up to 9,230 downtown cards in the 2023 set. I don't know if that's surprising to you or not.
It's pretty surprising. I would think that they would short print it a little more and respect the brand, but maybe it's something that will contrast or complement the value of 2018 downtowns and earlier downtowns, right? So it's like, hey, maybe if it's that popular, if it's gaining that much popularity now as a brand, let's just say the downtown is a brand, right? People see downtown as, hey, I don't care, I want a downtown. And those Costco boxes, I'll say, those oversized downtowns look phenomenal. I think I'd be pumped to have one of those. I think they look great. They're good looking cards. So I think there's fans of the downtown set and brand. So I just think that it complements the earlier downtowns a lot more because a lot more people like it. So people are buying into it. But then at the same time, it shows true value of a supply demand monster, on the earlier sets like 2018, 2019. So I'm surprised that they would go that route. But at the same time, if it's selling, if it's working, then, more power to it, I guess. But like I said, you could extrapolate data from that and make better purchases based off that.
Are downtowns still case hits?
Not anymore. I don't think so. Because, it depends on how many they're printing, right? They used to be.
Isn't that what they were before?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know when it stopped, but when you see breakers getting, we got 20 downtowns in this case.
Yeah.
It's like, holy smokes.
I know.
Yeah,
man, I don't know how I feel. Like I could understand the argument. It's kind of getting watered down,
Mm-hmm.
But I at the same time, I feel amongst all of the case hits, kind of like the winner of like the coffee pot era. Remember, like, what was it? It was like Keurig and Tassimo or something, and eventually like a winner kind of comes out on top. I feel like sort of Downtown and Kaboom are like that, except in the sort of case hit card era.
Sure, I get it. Yeah.
They're sort of like the winners that have come out on top. So like Hyung was kind of saying, are they're sort of their own brand now? Like, do they have sort of like long-term stay power? I think I do see an argument. I'm still a little bit hesitant, but yeah, I don't know. I still reserving my thoughts on this. I gotta think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone knows what downtown cards are now, so there's definitely brand power in it. But it doesn't surprise me actually too much because it just seemed like, more recently everyone's getting downtown cards, and it doesn't also surprise me because it's Panini. They're gonna go. Yeah. They're about to lose their license. They're like, how do I make the most money, as possible?
That makes sense too.
This is the way to do it, right? So, whatever is in high demand, you print more of, so that makes sense. But going back to the oversized downtown, I'm not sold on it. But how do you even can you get a top loader for that? Like, how do you
there are top loaders that size. Yeah there are. I seen a lot of these.
Is it the same as like box topper?
It's a box topper size, but maybe bigger. It's like 5x7, I want to say. But
put in a picture frame.
Yeah. You can put it in a picture frame.
I'll remove my kids and then put it.
See, something like that. I don't think I would get graded. I think I would just, it's more of a picture frame kind of card where it becomes an art piece, right? Where it's like you don't want it in a slab. I don't want to carry a freaking 5x7 slab, right? I don't know, but I think it looks phenomenal. I would enjoy that because, it's just I think the card looks good. The card looks amazing. And I will say this about downtown. I remember I never ripped football, and it was I forgot what year, but I pulled a Derrick Henry downtown out of retail, and I was pumped. I was like,
nice,
this is great. Send it in for grading, PSA 10, and sold it for like $400. I don't know what it's probably higher now that Derrick Henry's having a season right now, but for me, that's what I remember about the downtown. I'm like, wow, this is such a strong brand and demanded card out of a non-rookie that sells so well. And to me, everybody who collects in that game, whether it's basketball or football, Like Downtowns are probably one of the strongest brands out there, and Kabooms too. It's like in football, Kabooms are. It's crazy. You can never say, "Oh, these will lose value," because I think there's enough people that went through this era of. I remember when the Downtowns were the chase, and because football seems very different than baseball. I'd say football and basketball, where what they value. For instance, a parallel in football or basketball might not be as demanded in baseball, where a parallel auto, where inserts in baseball aren't demanded,
Right.
in baseball as it is in, football and basketball, right? So there's always that. I don't see it switching. So I think there's such a big demand for that brand. And you're right, Clark, thinking about this, it's like Panini's on its way out. So it's like they haven't made much money off of keeping things scarce. Right? Because,
Right.
They're not making money off the secondary market.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they, turn on the print presses and, get as much money as they can right now while they can.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Yeah. That's all to say. Going back to what we're discussing for this segment, just watch out for the pop count. But yes, there's some cards that are just being mass produced. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. All right, let's move on to a new segment I'm calling Rank It. It's a new one, and I thought of it because I thought this could be funny, just depending on how it goes. But what I want you guys to do is to rank from the one you like most, which will be number 1, to the one you like least, which will be number 5, okay? So rank from number 1 to 5, most to least. And what makes this challenging, I think, is that I try to think of things in the hobby no one really likes, okay? So it might be like, what do I like, the least? I don't know. You'll see what I mean, okay? All hobby-related items. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a list, and then you guys tell me from number 1 to 5 how you would rank it. First on the list, an obviously off-centered card. Okay. 2, a triple on-card auto with one dud player on it. 3, dual autograph card, but both stickers. Okay. 4, we kind of talked about this, cards in oversized slabs. Okay. And 5,
Oh man.
I got this idea from Will in our group chat. Highly photoshopped cards. like the Bobby Wood Jr. Bowman
Jr.
rookie. Yeah, that his face looks totally weird in that photo. All right, so just quickly, obviously off-center card or triple on-card auto card with one dud player on it. Dual autograph card, both stickers, cards in oversized slabs, and highly photoshopped cards.
Wow.
Who wants to go first?
I gotta write this down. What was it? So Photoshop, triple auto with a dud, dual sticker. What else was there?
Cards in oversized slabs.
Oversized slab.
And an off-centered card.
An off-center card. Oh my goodness, what is this?
Sorry, what was the first? I got triple auto, oversized, off-center, dual auto. And
Cards in
Photoshop.
oversized slabs
And
and
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind the Bobby Witt Photoshop. That, like, now that I see it, I know Will always brings it up, but I don't seem to mind as much. I just see it as an iconic image because that's what I've chased. I never looked at that face, and now you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yes.
So it's kind of like. But I would say like a lot of cards are Photoshop, but if it's heavily Photoshopped, I think that would be, I guess, the biggest thing. But for me, I would say dual auto, sticker auto. I'll take that as number 1. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna probably go triple auto number 2.
Ooh.
Because if you have 2 out of the 3, I think it's still a good card, and it's a great story. Because if you have that third auto, that's a nobody. It's like you start researching who that is, and it's a great story to tell.
Okay.
I would go 3 because there's Photoshop cards everywhere, I don't really. That's not the first thing that comes to mind. Even like the Victor Wembanyamas, I know some of them are Photoshop backgrounds and stuff like. I don't mind it. It's part of the hobby, especially like Topps Chrome Cosmic. You'll have Photoshop cards. Of course, they're Photoshopped. So it doesn't bug me as much unless you keep on bringing it up and then my attention goes to it. Then I guess that. Then I would say oversized card for me in a slab. And then off-centered has to be the worst. For me, eye appeal. I'll take a damage corner, damage edge over off-centered card. Because for me, I would enjoy the card. Like I said, I would enjoy a low-graded MJ rookie that has a bad corner, and that's why it's a PSA 4 or PSA 5. Crack it out, enjoy it for what it is. Don't crack it out because it still has value, but like that has a lot more value to me than something like a damaged corner. So off-centered cards is bad. It's unless that's your like. I know some people they grade the super off-centered card that ends up getting a SGC 1 or a PSA 1, right? And then that's what they like to collect. And if that's your case, I can't help you. But yeah, off-centered cards are bad for me.
All right. Okay, that's good. That's good. John, what's your 1 to 5?
Okay. I think 1, Will's going to hate this, but I think 1 is easiest for me, and that's the Photoshop card.
Interesting.
Because if it's the Photoshop card, but it's the main rookie card of the dude, it's annoying, but you're still going to collect it, right? If I found out Kobe's rookie Topps Chrome was Photoshopped, I'd still want it. Like, it's still the go-to card that I want, right? So in terms of what I would actually have in my collection, the Photoshop card is probably what I'd likely have in the collection. So that's 1. All the rest, I probably wouldn't have. So at this point, it's like that's the least. I think 2 is the on-card triple with the 1 dud.
Interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't love it, but I if somebody told me, hey, for $300 I'll give you this card and it has Kobe on it and I don't know, Gary Payton and Andrew Bynum, I'll be like, but I think I'd still want it. Like I probably still put it in the collection, but it's number 2. 3, the dual sticker. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'll put the dual sticker 3 because there's some cool dual stickers. Like if it was like Ohtani, Ichiro, but it's a dual sticker, I'll still take that.
You'll still take it. Yeah. That's a great card.
Cool. And then let's say the card looks really beautiful, but it just happens to be a sticker. I hate sticker, but I'll take that. 4, I'm actually gonna put off center at 4. I don't like off center either, but I could still see myself owning some vintage off center card. Definitely not anything new like Prism. But like a vintage off center, Jackie Robinson, something like that, I'll take that for 100%. And then 5, the oversized slab. Get that out of my face. I can't stand.
I chose that one for John specifically.
You can't stand those giant oversized slabs. That's ridiculous.
Oh man, this is no, you know what? We're kind of similar in like some of these. So mine, number 1. The dual autograph, both stickers. To your point, if it's Ohtani, Ichiro, I don't care. Like if it's a sticker or not. It's a cool card. If the design of the card itself is cool, I'm taking that all day, every day first. Number 2, kind of what you said, John. I don't mind the highly Photoshop cards. Both of you said, like it's one of those things. Like I didn't really notice until Will mentioned about Bobby Witt. Now I can't unsee it, so it's annoying that way, but whatever, like you were saying too, John, if it's their first Bowman Chrome autograph card, I'm still buying it, right? So that's number 2. Number 3, I don't hate this as much as John, cards and oversized slabs.
Wow.
It's not ideal, but I'll take it, whatever, Number 4, I think this bugs me more than you guys. The triple on card with a dud player. I think I'll end up resenting that dud player just looking at that card every time. It's like, oh, why didn't you work out? Or
it's like Acuna, Soto, Luis Urias, Vladdy, Tatis, Hira. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that would bug me. Just if I had that on display, I'm like, yeah, just ignore that third player. you know. And 5 is I'm with Hyung, the obviously off center card. Eye appeal, yeah, it will bug me the most. All right, you know what? I'll do another version where it's like 5 really good things instead of bad things. That might be, I don't know if that'll be easier or harder, but we'll try it out next time. All right, let's finish our episode this week with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And this is when each of us, we choose 2 cards, and then we debate which one we would rather invest in. All right, so Hyung, do you want to start things off for us?
Sure. We're gonna go baseball with 2 players, and I want to highlight some of their numbers because it's interesting at this point. You got Aaron Judge, who's obviously been a monster the past 4 seasons, and then you got Mike Trout. They're both the same age. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. Okay, they're both the same age.
Okay.
Judge's career WAR is at 52.8. Okay. Trout's WAR is at 86.2. Okay.
Crazy.
And they're the same age. I personally think Trout, we had this discussion on the Cards to the Moon and 5 Card Guys post that I think Trout is going to be a 100+ WAR guy. So I still believe in Trout in the long picture. It's like, wow, we're going to see that Trout, because you got to remember, modern position players in the top, I guess, tier of 100+ WAR, you're talking about Barry Bonds, A-Rod, Ricky Henderson. Modern players, that's probably it. So Trout's going to still be and that's the thing. People think Trout it's game over. Was his prices very high? Yes. But I still think there's value in Trout. With that said, Trout leads every single offensive category right now to date over Aaron Judge in terms of, like, obviously hits, runs, home runs, RBIs, just because Trout's been in the league for 14 seasons versus Aaron Judge's 9. They're both the same age. Trout leads Judge by about 30 WAR. With that said, we're gonna take 2 cards that recently sold on October 19th and 20th, respectively. One was the Aaron Judge. So I'm going to send you guys this link because you guys might have not seen this card before, which is crazy. I don't know if you guys seen every Aaron Judge card, but I don't think a lot of people know that this card exists. So I sent it in the link.
Okay.
And it's basically the draft night, the Bowman 2013 Bowman draft night. So it's same year as the Bowman Chrome. And it's numbered to 10. It's an on-card auto of Aaron Judge. It is a horizontal card, a Min Gem 9.5. It basically sold for $7,950. Okay? So it's not his first Chrome, but it's almost like an insert auto, I would say, or a SSP auto. I'm going to pair that with Mike Trout's 2009 Bowman Chrome X-Fractor rookie auto, a Min Gem. So that's numbered to 225, and it sold for $7,200. So just a little cheaper, and I'll send this link over to you guys as well. That's the exact card. So those sold for basically the same amount. Judge a little higher, $700 more, and they were both sold on like in the last 3-4 days. What's the better investment? Based on everything I said, I know, Clark, you've bought into Trout at a higher price. So I want you to take that out of the equation. Okay. Don't let personal bias. You're a fresh start. You've broken even on that Trout.
Yeah.
And now prices have come down even more. What are you guys buying?
Clark's pain seeing the price of the X-Fractor. I can feel it through the screen.
That's the cheapest the X-Fractor I think has ever sold.
That's crazy, man.
Which makes sense. Holy, that's tough. I used to harp on Judge a lot. I think I was always a little bit nervous because he would always have a pretty good year and then a bad year and a pretty good year. And then, obviously had a monster year. And since then, he's been pretty consistent. It looks like all those I think he still strikes out a decent amount, but he's sort of figured out plate discipline, and Hyung would know, and
oh yeah, he's top tier now.
Yeah, he's legitimate. I think from here on in, he's going to be like a legitimate force. He has been. Um, but I think when all is said and done, kind of like the Brent, the sports card. What's his handle again?
Deep value
A
investor.
deep value investor. Thank you. And
Yeah.
he goes after like big cards of players that are going to go to the hall, go down as some of the great players. And as much as we've knocked on Mike Trout in the last couple of years, he's still going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time. Now, his pricing used to be of the reasoning that people thought he's going to legitimately go down as the best player of all time. I think that ship is probably sailed, but he's going to be up there. He's going to be probably up in the conversation of like Ken Griffey, like in that sort of stratosphere. And he was such a darling in this hobby for the last decade as the cards boomed again. So I think that Aaron Judge card is pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen it. It's probably a pretty rare card that has some legs in the future as people start to discover and really go after some rare Aaron Judge cards. But man, that X Factor that's like a staple, iconic card. And I think the pricing in the next 6, 12, 18 months, I don't see it going any lower than this at this point. Like that, this is probably a good time. I don't know. Like even if Mike Trout gets hurt again and it's not really not looking good, I feel like his legacy in terms of the pricing now is kind of at the bottom. So I think I'm more inclined to go with Mike Trout.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. While you're talking, John, I went back and forth like 5 times. So where I'm landing now is, man, I'll tell you what I like about both cards the most. I like that the Aaron Judge cards, it's numbered to 10, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's super rare, right? And it's in his rookie year.
Are there only 10 of those?
There's only 10. It's numbered out of 10.
No way. Yes. It's not like a parallel or anything like that.
No. It's like a SSP, I would say, but I would at the same time it's the Bowman draft night. Like it's a known, I guess, parallel. If you're if you're ripping, you knew that like these cards existed, but they were never the front runners. They were never the brand of first Bowman Chrome. They always kind of took precedence. Like if you had a numbered to 10 Aaron Judge, I don't even know if they just say a red refractor first Bowman Chrome, that's the card. Like we're talking, that would be the chase. But this is kind of like that. This is why it costs $7,950. Out of 10 or out of 5 first Bowman Chrome, Aaron Judge would be hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So,
yeah. So I like the rarity for sure. But John kind of said it, like the 2009 Bowman Chrome card for Trout. That is the card for Trout, and it's X Factor, so it's a lower parallel number, 225, right? I did think about like what you said about, deep value investors thinking that there is a blue, there is a gold, so there are other more rare parallels, which kind of is in my head. But at the end of the day, in terms of value, I agree. I think Mike Trout maybe could dip a little bit more, but if he has a solid season, and maybe this is where my bias is because I have the base card. If he just has one solid season, 10 plus WAR, that's going to bounce up, right? Whereas Aaron Judge had an amazing season. I think that price, that $8,000 value is factored in. So, I don't know how much higher it can go from where it is now. So in terms of value, in terms of the iconicness of the card, and the one thing that bothers me is the horizontal. I'm not a huge fan. So I'm going to take a half mark off there. Yes. So you add up all the marks, Mike Trout wins. Barely.
Wow. Yeah, no. That's it's interesting because I agree with you guys that like everything you guys said, what is the right answer. But I think for me, like the Aaron Judge, and maybe this is why, I feel like the first Chrome hype is always going to be there because it's such a strong brand. But I think Ohtani kind of broke that mix. I think Ohtani broke in a way where it's now cool to be collecting insert autos. It's now cool to be collecting any rookie autos. It's cool to collect a bunch of his cards, not just his, because I wouldn't say he has a first Bowman Chrome. Yeah, you could say his first release was out of the Bowman set, but at the end of the day, it's a rookie auto. There was never a first Bowman, like pre-MLB card for him. So, and I think people think that, and that's why, because it came out of the Bowman set, that's, and then his other batting image came out of Bowman Chrome. So, as a rookie auto. So there was never a first auto of Ohtani, first Chrome. So I think he's broken that mold of, there's other cards that are tremendously undervalued. And that's what I see with this Aaron Judge card, because I think the more people see it, they're looking for, okay, what would be your next option other than, if it's not a 2013 Bowman Chrome Aaron Judge auto, what would be your next rookie auto or auto card? You guys would all probably gravitate to either Topps Chrome in 2017. That's the first thing you probably look at, or even like a Heritage, Topps Heritage, or an auto of that sort. So I think it's a very good older card that is low, super low numbered, that has tremendous legs. And I think it's our bias that we've put so much value into only the first Chrome. And I understand deep value investors' point. And I agree that, you know, the golds, the orange, and the reds, and even the blues, true blues, that's what you want. And if it was Mike Trout at that level, I think I would go with the blue. But in this case, I think it's so low numbered that I think it has potential to do even more than the 7,900 in the near future, right? Just because it's so rare. And it's graded. I don't know the pop count, but I assume that there has to be very little PSA 10s, if any. And then most will fall under a gem mint anyways. So I'm going to go with the Aaron Judge, but yeah, I could go both ways on this as well.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
All right, John.
All right, fellas, we're going to switch gears to a little bit of a lighter price point, and we're going to go to hockey. One player that has continually been disrespected and underrated as a superstar. I think Clark already knows where this is about to go. But we're going to go Young Guns PSA 10, Nikita Kucherov, versus Young Guns PSA 10, Nathan McKinnon.
Oh.
And I think on the onset, it seems pretty easy. The McKinnon, they both go for around $575 USD, the latest prices. They're both of older era ilk of Young Guns, so they're not as crazy pop count as some of the newer cards. The McKinnon's at, I think, around 1,500 pop for PSA 10, and Kucherov is around 500. So it's a lot more rare, and Kucherov doesn't have an SB. Authentic.
What years? Hang on. What do you remember? What year it was? Same year, right?
2013-14 for Kucherov. 2013-2014 for Kucherov.
I think maybe same year.
And I think it's actually the same year. Yeah, it's the same year. Sorry, it is the exact same year.
Yep.
Yeah, and Kucherov, like that's his main card. He doesn't have rookie autos or anything like that.
And what was the price point?
They're both around $575 PSA 10.
Oh, so they're same. It's just Nathan McKinnon has the higher pop count, right?
He has the higher pop count.
With other cards available.
Yes.
I'll go first. I feel like John every year tries to get me to choose Kucherov. And I always reject it, but it's a stronger case this year for sure. It's just, especially with what he had a pretty good season last year, right? Like
he always has.
So I noticed, and but I mean McKinnon had a great season too, right? Whenever he's healthy, he's always producing. So why I'm gonna choose McKinnon, right? But I feel like it's obviously not on the supply side because it's a lower pop count for Kucherov. But I think the demand will always be higher for McKinnon.
Canadians, it makes sense.
Canadians will prop him up, every time. So, and it's like, 500 to 1,500, it's significant, but I think the demand is just still higher for McKinnon in general. So that's why I'm going to go for McKinnon. I think he's, in terms of his Young Guns card, I think that's still really underrated, right? So, McKinnon for me. 1 year, I'll choose Kucherov.
I think there's an argument for both. I think Kucherov is the better buy in my opinion, just based on supply demand. Because if it's 33% of basically the print run of, or at least the pop count of McKinnon's, right? I think you have a better, I guess, supply demand buy from that perspective. I do agree with Clark that you're going to have more liquidity with Nathan McKinnon. I think he's also younger. I think both had incredible like career years last year, right? So I think they're starting to kind of get into their next, I guess, their peak of their career, because Nathan McKinnon's still 29 years old, so super young. He's entering his prime, and Kucherov's 31. So at the end of the day, they're both in their prime, and I could see both, having crazy numbers the next, few years. And I think that will increase the demand for both players. And I think Kucherov does have the better supply demand. And it's just a matter of time before he gets the respect. So I think with that said, if I was going short term, I would probably go more Nathan McKinnon. If I was going long term, I'd go Kucherov. So I'm going to go Kucherov based on the supply demand and that the fact that he doesn't have many other options. I think he's going to finish his career pretty strong. He has probably 4, 5, 6 good seasons left in him, both of them, before their numbers start tailing off. So yeah, both had monster seasons last season. So this year, I think both got off to a hot start as well. So, but I'm going to go Kucherov here.
Yeah. Nice. Nice, boys. I think, there's no real answer here. And I think the right answer is really depending on the type of investor you are, right? Because I think it's very easy to say Nathan McKinnon because we've all been to the Toronto Expo. Like, we know that if you took a Nathan McKinnon versus a Kucherov, you're going to get some activity with that Nathan McKinnon in terms of trade rate, like 100%.
You got the number one overall. That I think that was kind of like the reason is everybody has been on Nathan McKinnon because he was the number one overall as opposed to a second rounder.
Right. So McKinnon, if you're in this game it's not a long-term hold. You're in it to use it as bait for something else or volatility or whatever. I think there's very much an easy answer in Nathan McKinnon. And he's got the hype, and you got the Canadian fan base contingent, all that stuff. And in terms of long term, and I'm going to side with Hyung here because I'm just thinking in this instance, I'm just kind of thinking long term. And to be honest, if I'm looking at my watch list, I have legitimately had this card on my watch list before over Nathan McKinnon. And I think there's going to be a time and place, and I think it's pretty soon that you should get this card and just leave it in your collection somewhere, especially if you're a hockey collector. Because I was talking over Thanksgiving with one of my older nephews about the greatest Russians of all time, and you got Ovi. I personally put Datsuk number 2. You got Kovalchuk. You got Malkin, and truthfully, I think Kucherov is squeaking up there. I think he is going to go down as. Man, he can go right up there with Datsuk. He can go number 2. I think Ovi is going to be untouched at 1. But when all is said and done, Kucherov could go down. I think he's already in the top 5. I think he might have passed Bure, might have passed Fedorov. I don't know. He's getting up there, man. It's not time to stop disrespecting him. So, and he doesn't have anything else. This is the main card to collect. So I think there's a point in time to buy his card, and I think it's pretty soon. So I'm gonna pick Kucherov.
Yeah, another good one. Man, when you brought up all those names, just good memories. Fedorov, Bure, back in the day. Yeah, no, that's a good one. All right, we'll finish off with mine. We'll go back to high end this time for this one. LeBron and Bronny made history the other day. Father-son team. I know how John feels about LeBron, but this might be for him. So the 2 cards you might be able to guess is a dual autograph cards. Okay, the first one being, of course, the 2023 Bowman U Chrome LeBron James. You remember this card?
Oh, yeah.
Where they both signed in the same room. I think it was their first one. On-card auto. Or, did you hear about this? The other dual auto, because it's a Topps Now card.
Topps
that's
Now?
going to come out.
Yeah,
of course. Right? That card, where is it? I'm going to show you on the screen just to give you guys a better look. The father-son debut, 1 of 1. That'll be randomly inserted. This is going to be a chase. A lot of people are going to buy the base card of this Topps Now, hoping to get this. Yeah. But the Topps Now father-son debut card, I believe it's also on-card auto for this dual auto. So which one are you taking?
Can I see the other one?
Yep.
And the Superfractor sold this
114,000 for the first Superfractor. Yeah.
For the first, and this was last year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago, right? Or last year? 2023.
Yeah, I believe.
2023. Yeah. Man.
And that was on card. The Bowman U was on card.
Yes. Yeah. I think there was a video where they were in the same room signing it.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
This one's tough because, well, for right reason. Okay, we're not going to discuss Bronny Jr. Like, okay. they're two same. We're talking 2 equal cards, so we don't have to go and discuss what he can and can't do because it's basically both are similar cards, right? It's like, which one would you rather have? I think the Topps Now is pretty cool. Just the fact that they're both in a Lakers uniform. I'm trying to extrapolate the good out of these. Like, for me, these are cards that I wouldn't want. I would sell them to LeBron. I would be like, how cool is it to have a 1 of 1 of you and your son? When's the next time you're gonna have a card like that? So it's perfect. Like, you could sell it to LeBron. I think I like the Superfractor better in general, just because it's Superfractor. So that's a big plus on that side. The Bowman Chrome U. They're not in NBA uniform, which I like the Lakers. The fact that that's a pretty cool story at the end of the day, regardless of what you think about Bronny Jr. Because we're not talking about that. So I'm gonna go with the Lakers jersey 1 of 1. I just think people forgot about the Bowman Chrome U. I think right now there's a lot of hype on the Lakers just because of that, and I think if you were to sell that card right then and there because of the hype, I think it would do pretty well, as opposed to buying in at 114K and trying to flip that and thinking you're going to get anything more at this point. So I'm going to go with the Lakers.
Topps Now.
Yeah, Topps Now, 1 of 1. It's only a year apart, so.
Okay.
This is funny because the Topps Now is like the ultra super manufactured, because it's the Topps Now that people complain is kind of like manufactured rarity. And then
NBA debut though.
It is. And then you have like the Bronny nepotism manufactured moment.
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that right now.
I'm talking about but you know what? Jokes aside, I don't want to take away from the moment. It was actually a really special moment for sure for that family. I think visually seeing that it's super cool, And for me, I think that's what I love most about this is it's such a special moment for LeBron's family, and the moment was captured into a card, and they're both dual auto on card. Like for me, the Lakers, even though it's Topps Now, I take as a collector, if I really wanted this, it's the Topps Now dual auto all the way, all day, any day for sure for me. I get Bowman Chrome U, a little bit manufactured, Superfractor. Yeah, I think visually it's kind of cool, but they're not together. Like this was the moment everyone was waiting for, whether LeBron actually ends up having an NBA career or not. Like this was the legit moment everyone was waiting for. So that's the card for me, for sure.
Okay. It's an easy one, I guess, because it's going to be the Topps Now sweep. I think in terms of historic card, it captures the moment, the father-son duo. I think that's way more important. And yeah, I mean, like both these cards could be, how we did the previous segment, it could be a dual auto with one dud player. We're not going to talk about the dud player, okay? We're not talking about that. It could be But apples to apples, orange to orange. I'm going to go with the Tops Down Lakers card for all the reasons you guys both mentioned. So, clean sweep. All right, thanks for listening to another episode of Cards to the Moon. We appreciate you guys. If you haven't given us 5 stars and you really enjoyed this episode or our podcast, we would greatly appreciate it if you did. Helps us out a lot. And yeah, we'll have a brand new episode for you next week. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.